Sometime in 2021, a new global conflict will erupt and millions will take to the battlefield. Not to worry though, this happens every few years, and speaking for myself at least, I've always found them to be very enjoyable. But even though war is imminent, unless I have gotten spectacularly unlucky with the timing of this video, we still don't know what it is we're fighting over. If you need to gamble though, the smart money would be on a future conflict between Russia and the United States sometime in the 2020s or 2030s, with maybe China somewhere in there as well. And I have no problem with this. I have fond memories fighting over the Gulf of Oman, Port Valdez, the Caspian border, and amidst these skyscrapers of Shanghai. And adding autonomous weapons, hypersonic missiles, and those robot dog things into the mix seems pretty cool. But is it the most interesting option? I don't think so. And while the Templin Institute doesn't have the ability to spark a worldwide conflict, it's something we're working on. So I'd like to pitch my 5 ideas for the next battlefield. And you're getting some real bang for your buck here, because my first idea is actually 4 or 5 ideas, which I'm calling Battlefield 1952, 1962, 72, 82. You get the idea, and it's a simple one. A Cold War gone hot scenario between NATO and the Warsaw Pact. This seems like such an obvious choice to me, and depending on the year in which it takes place, there's all sorts of unique variations we could see. A rehabilitated Wehrmacht fighting off the Soviet advance into Germany as part of Operation Unthinkable. American Marines landing in Havana as part of the Cuban Missile Crisis, or Able Archer 83 being used as a ruse to conceal the NATO invasion of the Soviet Union. Now, I am aware we got something close to this, but the Special Forces Black Ops approach never really resonated with me. I'd much rather be leading a division of German Leopard 2s in the Fulda Gap, rather than sneaking through some Berlin suburb to shoot people with a silenced pistol. I never understood why I'd want to prevent World War III when it seemed so much cooler than what I was doing. But moving on to my second idea. There seems to be this notion that if World War III is going to start, the United States, Russia, or China are likely to be involved. But let's give some other countries some credit. There's a few other options for who could destroy human civilization. I think a Battlefield India or a Battlefield Brazil could be a pretty cool way to approach a World War III type conflict. In both cases, you'd be fighting across an entire continent, every bit as interesting as the hedgerows of Europe or the steppes of Central Asia. I guess I'm just tired of having my inventory filled with the same N4 rifles and Abrams tanks. But moving on to idea number 3. Now, according to some dire predictions, in 2106, there'll be an unexpected ice age, and by 2142, a conflict will have broken out between the European Union and Pan-Asian Coalition over the last habitable sections of the world. Now, the whole ice age thing never quite landed with me. It always seemed kind of goofy, but the presence of the Titans, massive flying aircraft carriers, more than made up for it. I'm not sure if I want to see a direct return to the conflict between the EU and PAC, but I think some sort of iteration with a less goofy backstory would be pretty cool. The 100-year time difference from our own world also makes whatever conflict is happening a bit more believable. But why not go a bit further? My next pitch is something I'd call Battlefield 2242. Now, I've fought across the battlefields of the future more times than I can count, but the stakes in those conflicts always seemed a bit too high, or they're peppered by grand revelations about the future or origins of humanity. I'm not saying these are bad, I just think that not every conflict needs to involve the potential genocide of the human race or uncovering the mystery of our lost forebearers. Maybe the Caribbean Federation just really wants Epsilon Indi, and the African Union won't stand for it. We can sidestep all the usual sci-fi cliches in favor of something more grounded and gritty. But my last pitch for the next battlefield setting is perhaps the most unusual. What about an alternate history with a point of divergence thousands of years ago, resulting in a world somewhat similar yet drastically different from our own? The continents and oceans might be the same, but the cities and nations are completely different. Maybe instead of NATO and the Warsaw Pact fighting over Europe, you have the People's Federation of Rome fighting Imperial China over the fate of the New World. I think taking the strange real approach could free up Battlefield from getting too bogged down in issues of practicality and believability. So those are my 5 ideas, and while I can already hear the cries calling for a return to the jungles of Vietnam, or maybe the 48th parallel, if you're gonna have a war, you might as well have a world war, and those conflicts, while undoubtedly interesting, are too limited in scope and scale. But that, of course, is just my opinion. And even though I was the only one to actually expect the ice, I'd like to hear your thoughts. What battlefields would you like to fight over? Do you not care at all so long as it feels good to shoot stuff? Do you just want to see a return of Bravo 1 Charlie from the 222nd Army Battalion?
So you reckon that the rainbow sprinkles are the way forward with the donut?
Absolutely, because then you get the different textures between soft donuts.
Could you get your ass over here right now?
Did you lose something, Sarge? You dropped something, Sarge?
This is supposed to be a stealth mission.
Why?
Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this has been a Templin Dispatch.